So, Matchbox Scorpions, how do they work? Well, let's just compare Matchbox Scorpion, which is what we have here, with a Hot Wheels Sizzler. I mean, these were Hot Wheels Sizzlers came out in about 1969, and these came out in 1971. First thing to notice is on the Sizzlers we have an on-off switch on the bottom, but on the Scorpions we don't appear to have an on-off switch. So let's open them up and see what's going on. Here we have the Hot Wheels Sizzlers, and here we have the Matchbox Scorpions. Before I open it, I'll just demonstrate this little piece of magic. That is the on-off switch. These just unclip from underneath. So, the first thing you'll notice is that they have the same motor, but there's a lot more going on inside the Matchbox Scorpion than there is with the Sizzlers. The Matchbox Scorpion is controlled by this thing here, which is a reed switch. You can see this thing here, which is a magnet. Basically the circuit runs from the front of the battery on the positive side through the reed switch and then across the wire into this contact here for the motor, which is the contact here, same contact for the Sizzlers. The way this car is controlled is, say, the reed switch. I've got one here actually, which was sent to me by another YouTuber, Diecast Jam, who managed to get hold of some, and you can see there's two metal strips in there, and basically as the car goes across these magnet controllers, they're called speed marshals, the two strips inside, they close circuit, open circuit, close circuit. It's basically turning the motor on and off. So that is effectively the on-off switch for the car. So off is slow, and then on, when you turn this round, is fast. So you pass that, and then it passes the slow one, and the motor stops. So you're wondering why the hell have they done this? Well, the reason why they've done this is so that these cars can run on a standard Matchbox superfast track. You may be aware that the original Sizzlers ran on the Hot Wheels orange track, and there was a lot of problems with the cars flying off. So you had all these sort of ingenious devices on the track, like S's and speed controllers, with these little things that used to rub the sides of the car to slow the car down, to stop the car coming off the track. But Matchbox decided to do a different version using this reed switch arrangement. So basically around the track you'll clip these, what they call speed marshals, to fast or slow. So the car is effectively switching on and off as it goes around the track to stop it from going too fast and coming off the track. If you don't put any of these around the track, the car will just fly off the bends. So that is the theory behind these little devices. I haven't got one here, but they also do like a little turn knob where you can turn it on and off, fast or slow. I mean, these are clipped on the track, either slow or fast, but they do one with a little knob. You may have seen it on some of my videos where you can actually have slow or fast. It basically enables you to stop the car on the track. They use the same battery, but you may notice that the batteries and the circuit is the other way around. This means that if you want to transplant a Sizzlers motor as it stands into this car, the Matchbox Scorpion, if you just do a straight swap, this Matchbox Scorpion will run backwards. I don't know if you can see on this video that on this Sizzlers motor you see the coloured magnets on the top. Well, on this Scorpion's car, the coloured magnets you'll find are on the bottom. So if you want to get, if you find, I know there are some new motors around for Sizzlers, new old stock motors on the eBay and whatever, and you want to, if you've got a Matchbox Scorpion and you want to replace the motor, if you want to use one of these motors, you've basically got to disassemble it. What you have to do is to take apart the motor, the casing from the front plate, and you have to rotate the casing so the magnets are on the unpainted side and the magnets are facing on the top. The other way to do it, if you have the right equipment, is to demagnetize and remagnetize the motor, which is a little bit more complicated and probably requires a lot of expensive equipment. But the easiest way to do it is to say, just remove the casing, rotate it 180 degrees so the unpainted faces of the magnets are facing upwards, and then your Matchbox Scorpion will run forwards, not backwards. We can talk a little bit about restoration of these cars, because when you normally find these cars, they're in a bit of a state. If I just take this battery out for a second, again, they were in a state because someone has left the battery behind inside, so the battery's leaked, and have the same problems as the Matchbox, the Hot Wheels Sizzlers and the Corgi Electro Rockets, that the leaking of the battery just causes so much damage. So what you'll find is when you get one of these out of the box that's had a leaking battery in there, that's been sitting in there for nearly 50 years, all this will all be furred up. The motor will probably be seized up. You may find that this terminal here on the side is broken. For some reason this is quite fragile, this particular contact here, but I have got some running that don't have this contact. It just sort of secures the battery in place, so if you have one that's got a broken contact, it's not the end of the world. You can put a bit of cardboard or something just to secure the battery in place, because the batteries do tend to move around in here. The other thing you'll find when you get one of these for the first time is that this wire here will have probably severed at both ends, or maybe even be missing, which means you've got to do a bit of soldering a new piece of wire, maybe a piece of speaker wire or something. And also this sort of reed switch which sits along here, along the bottom, you may find that it's got a solder connection. I don't know if you can quite see it on here. There's a solder connection to the front contact in here. That's also maybe severed. So again, you've got a bit more soldering to do there. When it comes to restoration of these cars, it's very similar to the restoration of the Corgi Electro Rockets that I showed in some of my other videos. Basically, you need to take the motor out. This is the Sizzlers motor, so the procedure that we went through on the Corgi Electro Rockets with the Sizzlers motor, the cleaning procedure is exactly the same. And the chassis cleaning of dipping it in something like limescale remover, again, is exactly the same, but with one very important difference. When you dip this chassis in the cleaner, you must not get this reed switch in the cleaner. I tend to dip it in the cleaner so it sort of comes up to about sort of this level, so it's just cleaning these contacts in this area here. The first time I actually restored one of these Matchbox Scorpions, I actually dipped the whole thing in the cleaner, and what happened was that the reed switch stopped working. It basically got stuck in the on position, which meant that I couldn't turn the car off, which is very restrictive if you want to run it on this on the Matchbox Superfast tracks, because the car will just go too fast, and also it's very annoying the fact you've got to put a battery in, sometimes charged up, which I'll come to later, and you just can't turn the motor off. But as I say, they do faulty reed switches. They do fail from time to time. They seem to just stay in the on position. But as I say, thanks to Die-Cast Jam, he's found these on the internet, so you can actually replace these and bring your car back to life. So that's a little bit about restoration. So you can get the Sizzlers motors to replace the motor that's in here, but again, just to remind you that you've got to do a bit of conversion work to make sure that the car is going to run forwards, not backwards. The biggest problem I have with these cars is charging them up. Let me just move these cars out of the way and I'll just show you the charging issues that we have. The charger that you'll see on most of the sets is one of these blue chargers, which are absolute rubbish. I've not found one that actually works. They may have actually worked back in the 70s when they were new, but if you look inside, you can see inside this, the actual design of these is just so overcomplicated that by the time you've got any, the electrons to get all the electricity to get into the contacts here to charge a car, you've got about 1 or 2 left. I mean, the resistance in this device is just ridiculous. It just doesn't. I haven't found one that worked. I mean, this particular one here was mint out of the box, never been used, and just can't get it to work. Taking it to bits, it's just so clumsy. Better is one of these, which is the Matchbox supercharger, but the downside is that these only came with the Cannonball set, and these are really rare. In the Cannonball set you get 2 of them. They look very similar to the Hot Wheels XV Racers set. Hot Wheels XV Racers charger. Basically, you depress the cars on these contacts, and this light comes on, and you charge it for 90 seconds or however long you want to. And these are really good. These are really good. But as I say, they're very difficult to find. So the only option until I found one of those superchargers, what I used to do is that I would charge up the battery in one of these Hot Wheels Sizzlers cars and then transfer it over into the Matchbox Scorpion, which is a bit of a pain, but it does mean that you can actually run the cars. It's thankfully, the body shells of these Matchbox Scorpions, they just clip on and off, so it's not, it's a bit of a hassle, but it's a solution. But as I say, if you can find one of these, you may find them loose in a toy fair somewhere, but these are absolutely brilliant. Should have done this. They should have done this from the start. But those blue chargers, well, complete rubbish. Anyway, hopefully that gives you an insight how to run Matchbox Scorpions and how they work. Very ingenious, but they are a complete pain to run, I have to say. Problems other than the charging issues are the battery tends to move around inside this battery compartment a lot, so there's a lot of problems with cars just stopping on the track for no reason. And I found a lot of the time having to wedge the battery with bits of card, either sort of, there's this motor here, there's a bit of a gap here, you end up wedging a bit of card here to wedge this all together, and sometimes they just don't work for whatever reason, and it's just really frustrating. But when you do get them to work, I suppose it's quite a thing. And I hope that's been quite useful for you. And we'll go back to making some more racing videos. Just watched this back and I realised I didn't show you how to take the motor out of the Matchbox Scorpion car. It's fairly easy. You just pop it out from the bottom. If you just push out from the bottom there, the motor just comes out. Of course, you've got to disconnect this wire if you want to dip it, or you can try and leave it in place, and the wheels just pull off quite easily.